living legend of law, Mr. A.K. Venugopal, my very distinguished friends from Society of Indian Law Firms, colleagues, representatives of the media, ladies and gentlemen. This is a very special occasion. Generally, I don't make long speeches, but today I'll speak for about 7 minutes. I have to tell you something, you see how this book came about and all that, what it represents. It represents the majesty of the Indian legal profession. Silk worked over this book for the last 5 years. It was supposed to be taken out on the occasion of 75 years of India's independence. But then things came on, kept on coming, more inputs, more research work, with the result that on this auspicious year of 2025, representing 75 years of India's Republic and the Constitution of India, we have brought about this book. It is a timely reminder also for the role which has been played by the legal profession to get not only independence, but thereafter that role continues in a very big way. When we got independence, we had, you see, all the deficiencies which the British gave us, including, you see, our somewhat system of administration of justice. But what the British had done, they established a highly centralized administrative infrastructure to regulate cultural, social, political, and economic life of Indians for exploiting ruthlessly its resources and endowments. This helped the British in mobilizing immense resources, enabling them to crush the mass upsurge in 1857 against their being exploited and thereby caused irreparable damage to the armed strength of Indians. The imperialist policy, however, gave birth to another type of resistance, and that is the silver line. The massive administrative structure and commercial establishment created a big army of educated people who could be utilized to run the political apparatus and help exploit the economic resources of India. In the course of time, this educated class became conscious of its rights as well as the duties of the government. They demanded civil liberties and self government. Thus, the educated class abandoned the tradition of armed resistance and adopted constitutional means, learning from the experience of the movements launched by the white settlers in the British colonies for obtaining self government and equal status in the British Empire. Amongst the educated, it was the lawyer who was destined to play a leading role in organizing this resistance to the imperialist privileges and prerogatives, and thus to force the British to transfer power to the representatives of the Indian people. While there would be hundreds of lawyers from mid 1980s, yet some of the leading lights who participated in the struggle for freedom were Umesh Chandra Banerjee. Well, he became a lawyer in 1864. Hemchandra Bandyopadhyay, 1861. Pandit Ayodhyanath, 1862. Manmohan Ghosh, 1862. Mahmud Sayyid, 1872. Raj Krishna Mukhopadhyay, 1868. C. Shankaran Nair, 1880. Rahimtullah Sayani, and then Kashinath Trimbak Telang and Badruddin Tayebji, all known names. After learning law in letters and practice, the lawyers obviously became conscious of the process by which they could achieve self-government for the people. Therefore, it was no coincidence that lawyers were always in the forefront of all phases of freedom struggle in the British Empire. In our country, majority of the 72 wise men who formed the Indian National Congress were lawyers, and the first president of the Congress, which was destined to spearhead the new form of resistance to the British authority, was an advocate, W.C. Banerjee, way back in 1864. The Swadeshi movement, epitomizing the idea to get back the lost economic reliance, was propagated by Ras Bihari Ghosh. Mahatma Gandhi, who channelized the tradition of uh, armed resistance into a non-violent upsurge, also came from the legal profession. Then we had other big names. It is possible that some of the names of the some eminent legal luminaries might have been left out either due to an oversight, कौन बोल रहा है? Oversight, or paucity of authentic material. This volume is dedicated to all lawyers and also to all the freedom fighters who participated in the country's struggle for freedom, irrespective of whether their names find a place in this compilation or not. Some of the illustrious names do not figure in this list, and these are Nani Palkhiwala, Mr. Sirvai, Mr. Govind Swaminathan, Mr. B. Sen, Mr. N.C. Chatterjee, Mr. M.K. Ramamurthy, Mr. Justice Rajendra Sachar, Mr. Iqbal Chagla, whom we lost only 2 days ago, Mr. P.N. Lekhi, and several others. Yes, Mr. P.R. Kumaramangalam, Justice Akunde, and Frank Anthony. There have been eminent law teachers who have contributed significantly to the development of law, and these names include Professor Madhav Menon, Professor Upendra Bakshi, Professor Moolchand Sharma, Dr. Tahir Mahmood, and Professor Rajkumar. This volume is also dedicated to the role of the legal professionals for the last 78 years since independence. Lawyers have held positions of Presidents of India, Prime Ministers of India, Vice Presidents of India, Speakers of the Parliament, Ministers, leaders in the opposition, and of course, from amongst the lawyers, we do have the Chief Justices of India and the judges of the Supreme Court, and of course, the Attorney General, the Solicitor General, the chairpersons of the Bar Council, Bar Association, and all those, they have all been there leading the legal profession in their own way. The role of these lawyers in different capacities and positions has been most significant in preserving and strengthening our democracy and upholding the rule of law. This volume is also a tribute to nearly 1.2 million lawyers practicing in different parts of country today and who keep the wheels of administration of justice moving for the benefit of the citizens of this great country, India, that is Bharat. We salute the lawyers and the legal professionals currently in practice, representing a generation of young lawyers who will take India to the pinnacle of glory in the next 22, 23 years when, as announced by our Prime Minister, the country will celebrate its 100 years of independence in 2047, that is Viksit Bharat. We have two great representatives of the legal profession here, Mr. K. Venugopal. If I introduce him, you see that will not be a you see fitting thing. But briefly, some of those may not be knowing him, knowing you see that he has held positions of great importance. The president of the Supreme Court Bar Association several times, also president of SARC law, which is very important role it had played, and one, the oldest Association of International Lawyers, that is the UIA, International Union Internationale de Avocats, and of course, he has been the Attorney General and who has held that position with great knowledge and his commitment. In the Attorney General, Mr. Venkataramani, if I may use the expression, he is all in one. All in one means you know that he is one of the most brilliant lawyers that we have. But not just a lawyer, he's a jurist, he's a scholar, he's an author, he's an academician, and who is committed, you see, to promote legal profession by introducing radical changes in the legal education field, where I have had the privilege of working with him along with Professor Menon. So many institutions that we have to uplift, you see, the legal education. So there could be no better personality than the two distinguished representatives of our profession to release this book for mass circulation.